Now, this year marks the 30th anniversary of the murder of Nicole Simpson, and her eldest sister Denise is amongst those taking part in a brand new documentary aiming to shed light on Nicole's life and that controversial O.J. Simpson trial.
I dropped everything and I ran back to my parents, and my mom was on her knees and my dad was on his elbow. He was just looking up at her. And I grabbed the phone out of her hand and I said, "Who is this?" And she said, "It's Tom Lang." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Your sister's been killed." And I said, "Oh my God." I said, "He did it." I said, "He finally did it."
Denise, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Still so difficult to talk about after all of these years, I can only imagine. Your sister's life and subsequent tragic death is sadly the story that so many of us feel like we know, Denise. There have been a lot of headlines over the past 30 years, but there's been a lot of misinformation, and it's partly why you wanted to make this documentary. You wanted your sister's voice to finally be heard.
Exactly. And it's been in the works probably for about 10 years now. And it 20-year mark just did not feel right. 25 did not feel right. And then I asked my sisters, I said, "Listen, you guys, 30 years, let's do something for Nicole and let's make it big. Let people know who the real Nicole was and hear her voice and see what a fun-loving woman she was and a child, and what a great daughter and sister and mother."
Yeah, and that comes
People
across.
needed to hear.
Yeah.
People needed to hear her voice, and people needed to get to know Nicole.
And that did very much get lost in amongst all of this, Denise. The noise of what became certainly the trial, which took over the world during that time. But if I could just take you back, Denise, and there were quite a few moments in the documentary where the very early moments of her meeting O.J. Simpson. What are your memories of that? Because there were red flags from the very first date.
Well, there were, and those are red flags that I didn't know anything about. And I did not meet him until I was living in New York at the time, and I didn't meet him until 8 months later. And Nicole, my sister, my younger sister Dominique, came to New York, and Nicole called us and she said, "God, I want you to meet my boyfriend. I want you to come up to Buffalo," because he was still playing football at the time. And I said, "Oh my God." I said, "Great." She says, "He's a football player." Well, we're a household full of girls. What did we know about American football? Zero. So anyhow, okay, fine, he's a football player. She was totally crazy about him. So we took a weekend and we went up there. He was very charming, very nice, really wonderful until he wasn't. And that was at a game. And all of a sudden, Nicole was saying hello to one of their friends. And being European, we kiss on both cheeks. And we've always done that to say hello to somebody. So at the moment, he was down on the field and he was pointing up and showing his teammate, "Hey, that's my girl." And at that very moment, Nicole was kissing a friend of theirs hello. And when we got home that night, all of a sudden, I hear Nicole in the bathroom crying. And I'm like, I run in there and I go, "What is it?" She goes, "I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him." And she took a figurine that his made out of him, but like a doll, and she threw it into the bathtub. And she says, "I hate him. I hate him. I hate him." Then she goes downstairs and she talks to him, and she says, she comes back up and she goes, "Oh, everything's okay." I said, "What do you mean everything's okay?" She says, "I embarrassed him." And I said, "Oh." I said, "You embarrassed him?" I said, "How? He's both of your friends." So anyhow, that's how the whole thing started with my meeting him, my relationship with him. It's always been kind of tense because after her murder, I was the one to speak out about him being the poster child or poster man of domestic violence. He did beat her. He was convicted of that. He pled no contest, but he did have a slap on the wrist, as far as like telephoning in for counseling. But he is an abuser. And that's what people needed to know. And I was very vocal about that. And I was very vocal about the first time I heard about Nicole being murdered. I said, oh my God, he finally did it. You saw the clip. And that is something I've never wavered from because in my heart, in my gut, I knew this man killed my sister.
Like we know, Denise, he was acquitted in 1995, more than 150 million of us watching that.
Right.
Ron Goldman's father, of course, went on to file a civil lawsuit in 97, and the jury unanimously found O.J. Simpson liable for the murders of your sister and Ron. It was just another chapter in this story for you as a family, being put on the spotlight as well, which must have been incredibly, incredibly difficult. But what got lost in all of this is there were two children left, and you're left with all of the what-if moments. She would have been a grandmother today. As a family, you've lost your sister, your friend. You must daily have those moments of going, oh, if she had been here today, she would have loved that. That must be what's very difficult going forward.
Well, now, the civil trial was also the estate of Sydney and Justin. So that was the estate of Nicole for Sydney and Justin. It wasn't just Fred Goldman. And so we needed to get the kids involved in that so that they would be able to get something if there was something. So we went in like in the 11th hour. But having said that, yes, Nicole was a fabulous mother, and you'll see it in the documentary, The Life and Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. You see what a fabulous person she was. You see the type of love. Look at her. I mean, look at the type of love that she had for her children, and she would have done anything for her. And yes, it is a horrible, horrific thing that happened, and yes, do I miss her every single day? Absolutely. Do we all miss her? Absolutely. Her friends, her family. And, I think she would have been a great mother. She didn't get a chance to see her kids graduate from high school. She didn't get to see them as teenagers. She didn't get to see them as mothers, as fathers. She wasn't able to be a grandmother because that was all taken away from her at 35 years old.
Well, Denise,
She
it's
was so young.
incredibly young, and it's an incredible documentary, and such honesty from you and your sisters and your family and friends as well, of course. The Life and Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, it continues on Sunday at 9 o'clock on Crime Plus Investigation. So many facts in there. It's an incredible watch. Thank you very much indeed, Denise, for that.